Hi guys, I'm Andrew Smith from Andrew Smith Salons in Hampshire and also Milkshake UK and Ireland Ambassador. And I'm going to show you a really easy way of taming your fringe at home. Now, as a professional hairdresser, normally I would never recommend that anyone at home would try and attempt to cut their own hair or their own fringe. But as we're in lockdown and no one really seems to know till when, I think if you're going to be cutting your fringe or attempting to, then the best thing would be to follow these really good tips. Okay, so the first thing I would say is before we try and attempt to cut the fringe, let's see if we can disguise it maybe first. So here we can see the fringes in the eyes. So a really quick way of disguising this without needing to cut it would be to pick the fringe up and literally pop it back on itself. Okay. By simply twisting the ends, pushing forward, and then gripping. Okay. Now, if we wanted it higher, we could almost back comb a little bit and then quiff it back. But that's a really, really easy, quick way of taking the fringe out of our eyes without the need of cutting. Now, if we are going to try and cut our fringe, then what we would need is a sharp pair of scissors. So I appreciate that hairdressing scissors may not be available, but the pharmacies will sell very sharp scissors. We would need a comb and we would also need some straighteners. My recommendation would be to always cut the fringe when the hair is dry. So what we would do is isolate the fringe by picking up the sides and giving them a shake to see what hair falls forward. And then we would clip the hair out of the way. And the same the other side. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to use our comb rather than pulling the hair down. Because if I pull the hair down, when I let go, it may shoot back up, and we see it a lot on social media. So by using the comb rather than our fingers, if the hair is going to jump up, it's still going to jump up through the comb. So we're not pulling on the hair at all. So we're simply going to pull the hair down and cut. So using the wide tooth area of the comb, we're going to bring the hair down, remembering that if the hair wants to jump, it will anyway. And then we'll simply cut. Okay. The side area of the fringe we would bring to the front. The reason for that is if we're bringing it from the side to the front, it's got longer distance to travel, which means when we let go, it's going to be slightly longer into the side. Now, if we want a real arch, we would bring that further forward. And then we would do the same the other side. So we can actually use our comb as a ruler. Okay, so I'm not cutting over here because that would give us a really sharp line into the side. We're bringing the hair forward. Okay. Now, if we think this is too bulky, too harsh, What I would recommend before doing anything else would be to use the straighteners to soften the edge. Because whenever we cut the hair dry, it always looks a little clumpy. So just by bringing that round, already that now looks softer. Okay, if we do feel that this is still too heavy, what we can do is, with the comb underneath, we can literally, with our scissors angled upwards, not sideways, we can just shatter that line. We don't want to destroy the line because then we're going to be going shorter, but we're literally just bringing the scissors into the line. So to demonstrate softening, we would pick the fringe up from underneath, lift slightly away from our face, and then we would cut upwards like this. And it may be that you're thinking there's not a lot of hair coming off, but it's always better to do a little bit at a time, because if you need to remove more, you can. What you don't want to do is remove too much, because once it's cut, it's gone. Okay. Now, this is for a short fringe. A lot of people at the moment have longer fringes. And so what we would do in this instance would be exactly the same. Now, a good guide I find when we're working with longer fringes would be nose level. So once again, we would comb the hair down to nose level and cut. And again, you can see we're bringing the hair forward. Now, if we do need to lift the fringe slightly, because sometimes if we're working down here, to use the comb rather than our fingers can be a little bit more tricky. If we do need to use our fingers, then what we need to do is imagine our fingers is the comb. So without any tension, we would shake the hair without pulling it down at all. Okay, so I'm shaking the hair. Okay, now here is where we would soften the edges. So again, we would pick the hair up from underneath and we would soften those edges. Now working again with our straighteners. So in a quick motion, we would almost flick the hair. Now, what I find with freshly cut, clean, longer fringes is that they can be quite flyaway. So my favourite product to give that kind of second day lived in look would be the powder pop. So we would just distribute that throughout the hair, and you can see straight away it gives it more of a lived in, textured feel. So if the fringe was to keep falling forwards, not stay where we want it, if you just distribute the powder pop through the hair, instantly it gives you that hold and that support. Okay, and so there we have our longer fringe. Okay guys, so you can see two completely different ways and lengths of wearing your fringe, but they were cut exactly the same. So I hope you've enjoyed this quick tutorial on what to do with your fringe whilst on lockdown. Once again, I'm Andrew Smith from Milkshake Hair UK and Ireland. Please stay safe and stay at home.